Ricky here, and you're watching Ricky Talk Shop. I have here today a Rotel RMB 1066 power amp. This is one of my own amps. It's a 6-channel home theater, home audio amplifier, and I've actually got two of these. I picked them up for I think like $350, which is it's a really good price. That's usually what one of them goes for. So buy one get one free, basically. This one though, it's had a couple of problems. Seems like when you'll power it on, some of the channels, because it's 6 channels, so you'll power it on, and some of the channels wouldn't come on, and you'd power stroke it, you'd turn it off and back on again, and then other channels would be on and other channels would be off, and you'd have to turn it on and off 3-4 times to get the whole thing working. So I swapped it out with the other one, and I noticed a couple of things. First off, the other one works. Like, you just turn it on and it goes. And the other one sounds better. So there's definitely other things going on here too. Some cool things with this amp is you've got this big transformer, and each channel has its own tap out of the transformer. Each channel has its own rectifier, its own filter caps. Out of the transformer, they are like each set of channels. So it's basically 3 2-channel amplifiers. They're yeah, it's pretty much 3 separate 2-channel amplifiers that share a transformer. Alright, so what I think is going on with the switching, with the channels not all coming on, is if you look down here, we've got these 3 relays. There's one for each pair of channels, or one for each amplifier. And these, there's a couple things that can be going on here. If there's a bad capacitor in the power supply, because these are a 24-volt relay, so if there's a bad capacitor or something in that power supply for those, they might not be getting enough power to work right. Otherwise, anytime a relay switches, it latches inside. You get a little momentary spark when the contacts touch, and over time you build up carbon on those contacts. And eventually it'll work, they'll latch, they'll click, but there's too much carbon and the signal doesn't get through. So we'll replace those. You can actually get a newer today, upgraded, better quality part that it's made with a silver alloy contacts that resist that arcing. And anytime I'm working with an amp this old, it's best just to recap, replace all the capacitors, do it all, get it done. And that'll take care of any power supply issues to those as well. The next thing I noticed, and this is expected, you see these little styrene capacitors here? These are a part that have a very, very high fail rate. They used to be used in a lot of good audio equipment because they are really good sounding, like a really pure audio quality sounding cap. They just fail a lot. So you can see there's a few of these that are kind of burnt. They should be this nice green color. Like this one's black, this one's black, this one. So we're going to replace all of those when we recap everything. And then on each side of our circuit board, if you can see, we've got a little burned circle, some burned resistors. So we're going to go ahead and just replace the resistors, the diodes, the transistors, everything in that little circle. And the same thing is going on all 3 amps or all 6 channels. So that can be, that right there can be maybe why this amplifier doesn't sound as good as my other one. And I'm guessing this happened because it looks like when the people before me had these, they had them stacked. And this was probably the bottom one. And it just didn't have enough air circulation to stay cool. But there it is. I've got parts on the way. So we'll take a look at the parts I've chose to replace those with, and we'll get that done, and we'll see how it works. Ricky here with Ricky Talk Shop. I'm working on our big Rotel power amplifier. First off, I've gone through and I'm just checking some parts. Checked all of these big capacitors, and these are good. Rubicon, good. I mean, they were good parts when they were new, but they tested just all over the place. You know, very all of them tested very low capacitance. So they're not doing their job all the way. And I'm looking at, I've got one of the amplifier boards out of here. I'm looking at some of the part values. And right now I'm hooked up to this little capacitor here. And my little tester is going to come up and tell us that that is a diode. So, yeah, we definitely need to replace those. I'll show you some of the parts I've got. To replace all this, I've got a bunch of good WEMA capacitors. I've got new relays to replace these relays in here. I went with all good Nichicon, gold foil, Muse, audio grade parts. For these burned resistors, I went with a much higher quality, higher wattage rating parts. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and today I think I'm going to try to get the power supplies done. I'll try to get the output board, the output sections done. And then maybe here tomorrow or later this afternoon we'll get to the actual amplifier channels, because they're definitely going to be the most time consuming. Yeah, check it out. All right, so here we have our power input board, and I didn't mess around with these ceramic capacitors. They're a very, very high voltage part. They last forever, basically. I did get our gold Muse caps in these 3. I replaced this little guy here, and I got our new relay in. Like I said before, these are an improved relay. They have better contacts that won't arc and build up carbon like the old ones do. And I will post a parts list of everything I'm using in the comments section. All right, I'm here with one of the amplifier boards out of our Rotel amp. I've got all of the capacitors replaced. I've got our Nichicon Muse gold caps in. I've got the WEMA box caps all in. That's all done. I've replaced these resistors that were burnt. I replaced the diodes around them here. Everything else on the board tests good and looks good. So we'll get the other two boards done, and we'll get it put back together and see what it does. All right, I've got the Rotel amp completely rebuilt, done. I've got it plugged in downstairs. All channels work. We'll go down and check that out in a minute. I've had it plugged in, just running some really low volume stuff through it all night to give it a little burn-in time. So everything's working. Here's all the parts I took out of it. Got our big filter caps. Like I say, these all tested just kind of all over the place. And every single one of these, they're 6800 UF. They all tested really, really low. They had a lot of ripple current going on. So they were definitely due to be replaced. Here's the relays I was talking about. These are a very, very, very common part that you'll find in a lot of equipment. And I've pulled the cover off one. Hopefully you can see. On the right side, our contact is nice and shiny and clean. On the left side, it's all black and built up with carbon in there. So that's probably why you'd turn it on and some of the channels would come on and some wouldn't, just because they don't make good contact. Here's the new relays that we're putting in. And this is a single contact. This is the power supply relay. You can see through the case. These have much larger contacts in them. And these are also a silver alloy material. So those will resist that arcing. So much better part. And I will post the part numbers. And that is something to watch out for, is there are some people on eBay and places like that are selling, they're just listing an upgrade for this part. They're just saying upgraded part, but they're not telling you the actual part number of what you're getting. And they're charging like $8-9 each. And if you go on Mouser or DigiKey, these are just, they're like $4 or $5. So, and I emailed the one guy, and he came back to me and he said, well, the actual part number of what you're getting is proprietary to my listing. So, you know, if they're not telling you the actual part number you're getting, don't buy. Find it somewhere else. Here's all the little capacitors. You can see some of these styrene ones, pretty black. They're supposed to be this nice green color. And I tested a bunch of these once I removed them. And some of these capacitors actually test as, like my component tester thinks they're diodes. So they're definitely not good. Some burned resistors. All the resistors in there on those circuit boards were green. These are burned. There were some diodes that were really close to the resistors, so I went ahead and replaced those. yeah, so let's go down and we'll take a look at the amplifier. All right, here we are with the rebuilt amp. You can see the light's a little green. That's from my computer. Green fan light over there, kind of washing in. And I've just had this running all night, just really low volume. I'm running all channel stereo through the Integra. My mains up here, those are bi-amped, so there's no crossovers inside my mains. That's all done with the DBX drive rack here. And I'm running the 2 center channel speakers. And here's our other Rotel. This is the one I did have hooked up that all the channels work on. Immediately I noticed switching between the 2 amps, the one that's been gone through and the one that hasn't. This one, there's a lot of difference in the top end. Like, there's a lot more high-end stuff going on. And that's probably those little burnt styrene capacitors. Those are all, you know, very, very small value caps that are usually used for controlling high-end. So if some of those were bad, that was probably affecting our high-end. Other than that, everything it's cleaner, it's more articulate, it's punchier. So this was definitely a worthwhile rebuild, and I'll definitely be going through doing the exact same thing to the other amp. Maybe I should find a different song. Where's my mouse? There it is. Let's find something good. Nice high bit rate. Here we go. Some Megadeth.
You take a mortal man and put him in. Watch him become a god. Watch people's heads roll.
All right, so there it is, our Rotel amp, completely gone through, rebuilt. All of the electrolytic caps were replaced. All the styrene caps were replaced. There were a few burned resistors, some diodes that I replaced. Sounds better than my other one. Everything works on it now. We're good to go.